Evelyn Thompson was 94 years old, a retired elementary school teacher, a loving mother, and a woman whose voice once led classrooms full of children, now struggled to be heard in a world moving too fast to listen. With deep brown eyes framed by silver curls and a soft floral dress under her cream cardigan, Evelyn had one goal that day: to see her son, Marcus, in Chicago. It had been years since she last visited him. Time, distance, and health issues had created a long silence between visits. But this summer, Evelyn was determined. She wanted to surprise her grandchildren, hold them again, and feel the warmth of family. Her son, knowing her age and limitations, booked her a flight with all the right support: wheelchair service, escort assistance, and boarding help. He called the airline twice and even wrote in the notes, "My mother speaks English with a strong Southern and African-American accent. She's 94 and may need patient listening." That morning, Evelyn arrived early at the Jackson airport, helped by a neighbor. Her suitcase was small, just enough for a weekend, and in her hands she carried an envelope with printed tickets and handwritten notes from Marcus. At the check-in counter, she smiled kindly and said, "Hi, baby. I'm heading to Gate 3B. I got me some help scheduled." The agent blinked. "I'm sorry? I said I'm going to 3B. I was told someone going to help me get there." The agent exchanged glances with a coworker. "Do you understand what she's saying? Something about B3? I don't know. It sounds like African English or something." Then came the line that Evelyn never heard but would later haunt her son. "She speaks some kind of African English. We can't understand her." No one asked for her name. No one confirmed her assistance service. She was told to sit over there and wait. So she did. For 8 hours, Evelyn sat quietly in a corner of the terminal. Flights came and went. Her boarding time passed. Her plane took off. No one came. Marcus Thompson was a man of routine. An accountant by profession, he approached life with structure and precision, qualities that made him a meticulous son. The moment he booked the flight for his mother, he followed up every detail. Email confirmations, special request notes, and 2 phone calls to the airline. He even printed copies of her itinerary in large font, highlighting the gate and boarding time. So when the clock hit 12:30 p.m. and his mother hadn't called to say she'd landed, Marcus felt a pang in his chest. "She's probably just tired," he muttered, dialing her number for the 3rd time. No answer. Voicemail. He left a message. "Hi, Mama. Just checking in to see if you landed okay. Call me when you can. Love you." 30 minutes passed. He called again and again. The silence was growing louder. Marcus turned on his laptop and opened the flight tracker. Her plane had landed on time, 11:58 a.m. at Chicago O'Hare. So why hadn't she called? He called the airline customer service. "Hi, I'm calling about my mother. She's 94. Her name is Evelyn Thompson. She was on flight 4823 from Jackson to Chicago. She was supposed to receive assistance boarding. I haven't heard from her." The representative responded politely but flatly. "Sir, I'll need her confirmation number." Marcus read it out loud. A few clicks, a pause. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, but according to our records, your mother never boarded that flight." Everything stopped. "What do you mean she didn't board? She was there 2 hours early. She was supposed to get wheelchair assistance." "I understand, sir. It's possible she was delayed at security or missed the gate call." "No, she had special service. You were supposed to help her get there." Marcus's voice cracked. "She doesn't walk fast and she doesn't have a smartphone. You were supposed to help her." The rep apologized again, promised to check with the departure gate, and put Marcus on hold. 10 minutes later, they came back. "Mr. Thompson, a staff member recalls seeing an elderly woman sitting near the check-in area. They thought she was waiting for someone." "They left her there," Marcus shouted. "You mean she sat there for hours and no one helped her?" "There might have been a misunderstanding due to communication difficulty." "You mean because she's black and has a Southern accent, you assume she didn't speak English?" "I'm sorry, sir. We're doing everything we can to locate her." Marcus didn't wait. He grabbed his keys, called off work, and ordered a private car to Jackson Airport, almost 2 hours away. The waiting area at Gate A17 was nearly empty now. Afternoon had become evening, and travelers had come and gone in waves. But Evelyn Thompson remained. She hadn't eaten since morning. Her thermos of tea was empty, and her small pack of crackers had long been finished. A nearby vending machine blinked, but she had no idea how to use it, and no one offered to help. Every so often, a worker walked by. Some made eye contact, then looked away. One janitor had smiled at her, but said nothing. Evelyn had asked a uniformed airline staffer once, "Sweetie, I think I missed my flight. Can y'all help me?" The woman just responded, "Ma'am, I don't understand you. Do you have someone with you?" When Evelyn shook her head, the woman sighed and walked off. At one point, Evelyn tried to stand and walk to the desk herself. Her legs trembled, her hip ached. She clung to her suitcase handle like a cane, inching forward. But after just a few steps, she had to sit down again. Her breath came hard. She looked out the window. The sun was lower now, casting long shadows across the tarmac. Her heart sank. No one was coming. For a moment, Evelyn closed her eyes. She remembered her childhood in Mississippi, her mama's sweet potato pie, the hymns sung in her church choir, the sound of rain on her tin roof. She remembered the birth of her first child, her retirement party, the day she first held Marcus, and now, here she was, 94 years old, alone in an airport. Forgotten not because she didn't matter, but because people refused to hear her. One security officer passed and called out, "Ma'am, you okay?" Evelyn lifted her head. "No, baby, I think I've been here too long," but he shook his head. "Sorry, can't understand you, ma'am," and kept walking. Back in the car, Marcus was sweating. His hands gripped the steering wheel like a lifeline. The driver, sensing his urgency, asked, "You want me to go faster?" "Just get me there," Marcus replied, voice breaking. When they arrived, Marcus rushed through the terminal. "Excuse me, I'm looking for my mother, Evelyn Thompson. She's 94 years old. She never got on her flight." One gate agent, startled, called security. Another pointed towards a far bench. "I think that might be her," someone whispered. And there she was. Evelyn sat motionless, her hands clasped, her head gently tilted to the side. Her suitcase was at her feet. Her eyes were closed. "Mama!" Marcus called out. Her eyes fluttered open slowly. She blinked. "Marcus?" He dropped to his knees. "Oh my God, Mama, you okay?" A tear slipped down her cheek. "You came." The airport staff gathered nearby, whispering and watching the emotional reunion from a distance. A few managers approached, uncertain how to begin. Marcus, still kneeling beside his mother, looked up slowly. His eyes, red, damp, and wide with fury, met theirs. One woman, dressed in a navy blazer with the airline's logo, stepped forward. "Mr. Thompson, we're terribly sorry for what happened." Marcus stood, his voice low and trembling. "You left a 94-year-old woman alone in your terminal for 8 hours. We understand that. And again, we apologize. There seems to have been a miscommunication at check-in." "She speaks English," he snapped. "That wasn't the issue, was it?" The woman hesitated. "There were some comments from staff that they couldn't understand her. Because she speaks with a southern black accent? Because you decided that wasn't good enough?" Marcus shook his head in disbelief. "She taught children for 40 years. She reads the Bible aloud every morning. But your team heard her voice and tuned her out." Another staffer tried to interject. "We've initiated an internal review." "Save it," Marcus said. "You don't need a review. You need empathy training." He turned back to Evelyn, who still held his hand. Her eyes were weary, but full of grace. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "I'm just glad you came." But Marcus wasn't done. He pulled out his phone and snapped photos. Evelyn sitting there with her suitcase, the clock on the wall, the empty gate. He opened social media and began to type. "My 94-year-old mother, Evelyn Thompson, was left alone for 8 hours at Jackson Airport. Airline staff ignored her because they couldn't understand her English. She speaks English. Southern Black English. And you left her there like she was invisible. He hit post. Within minutes, it began to spread. By the time Marcus and Evelyn arrived home later that night, the post had already gone viral. News outlets were reaching out. Activists were tagging the airline's official account. Hashtags like #HearBlackVoices and #JusticeForEvelyn began trending. But Marcus wasn't seeking clout. He wanted change. He sat with his mother at the kitchen table, wrapped in a blanket. She sipped warm tea and smiled at her son. "You didn't have to do all that, Marcus." "Yes, I did," he said. "You deserve better. People like you deserve to be seen, heard, respected." The doorbell rang. It was a local journalist, and Evelyn, tired but composed, looked into the camera and spoke softly. "My name is Evelyn Thompson. I may be old, but I'm not invisible." By the next morning, Evelyn Thompson's story had reached beyond airport terminals and boarding gates. It had reached the heart of a nation. Her name was trending across social media platforms. News anchors recounted her ordeal on morning television shows. Activists and celebrities reposted Marcus's photo of her sitting alone, suitcase by her feet, with captions like, "She deserved better," and "Black elders are not invisible." At first, the airline tried to release a generic statement, something about regrettable incidents and service gaps. But the public wasn't having it. They demanded accountability. Petitions were launched. Boycotts were called. Marcus sat beside his mother, still stunned by how fast things had escalated. "You've become a symbol, Mama," he said gently. "I didn't want to be no symbol," she replied, sipping her tea. "I just wanted to see my babies." But even Evelyn could feel it. Something had shifted. The calls kept coming. Reporters, church leaders, university professors who wanted to feature her in seminars on dignity and aging. A civil rights museum even reached out, asking to include her story in a new exhibit on modern discrimination. The airline, under pressure, finally offered a formal apology. The CEO himself called Marcus and asked for a meeting. But Marcus declined. "My mother didn't need a phone call," he said in a press conference. "She needed compassion. She needed someone to look her in the eye and treat her like a human being, not a problem to walk past." Weeks later, Evelyn was invited to speak at a community center. She wore her favorite blue dress and the same cardigan she wore at the airport. Marcus walked her to the podium and held her hand as she stood before the crowd. She didn't read from a script. She simply said, "You don't have to be young or loud to matter. You don't need perfect speech to be understood. You just need someone willing to listen. I was left alone, yes. But because of that, now y'all are here, and you're listening. So maybe I wasn't invisible after all." The room fell silent, then erupted into applause. Back at home, Evelyn returned to her quiet life. But people still sent letters. Children wrote her cards saying, "I would never ignore my grandma like that." Teachers asked to share her story with their students. And every evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, Evelyn would sit by her window with a blanket across her lap, thinking not about the hours she was left alone, but the millions who finally heard her voice.